Stop. Don't scroll. The heavy weariness you feel right now is not the end of the road. I'm speaking to someone who has been walking through a long period of silence, someone who is tired and dangerously close to the point of giving up. But you need to listen closely, because something you did today, perhaps in secret, opened a sudden exception in heaven. A specific window of opportunity is about to arise, but the door is set to close today. You have been feeling this deep, bone-crushing fatigue that simply does not pass with a good night's sleep. It is not just physical exhaustion. It is a soul in a state of perpetual alert. You wake up at 3 in the morning with a heavy, nameless pressure on your chest. You are standing in the midnight watch of someone who is desperately waiting for a confirmation that never seems to arrive, carrying a weight that no one else can see. Simple decisions have started to paralyze you at the very edge of the door. The fear of taking the wrong step and ruining your only chance has locked your compass. You find yourself making choices in moments of sheer urgency, only to feel immediately that they carry the bitter taste of a mistake. You have diagnosed the pattern of hesitation that has cost you so much before, yet you find yourself completely unable to break it across different contexts. And then there is the heavy silence you carry into your own home every evening. Your spouse has learned to stop asking how your day was, reading the exhaustion in your eyes. Your child has stopped calling you for the small, joyful things. You sit physically present at the dinner table, but your mind is miles away, calculating escapes. You end up unloading the crushing weight of the world onto the very people who just want you present. I am going to show you exactly where you have really been standing over these last few months, in a way that will finally make this agonizing silence make sense. You are going to recognize yourself in what I describe next, not in the general, vague sense of the word, but in the absolute specific. The specific night you cried out. The specific decision you are terrified to make. The specific conversation you keep replaying in your head. I'm going to deliver to you a decoding of what has been sealed, a protocol for tonight that nobody has taught you. This happens right here, inside this video. And at the very end, I will declare 3 specific names over your life. This will not be a generic blessing thrown into the wind. It will be a specific, undeniable spiritual commission that shifts your posture from a victim of time to the master of your own clock. I do not promise that this will miraculously fix your entire life by tomorrow morning, but I do promise that if you stay until the very end, you will leave here knowing something you did not know, holding something incredibly specific in your hand and carrying a decree over you that remains. But listen carefully. If you leave this video halfway through, you walk away without the sealing and the narrow door remains locked. Think of a seed buried deep in the dead of winter. The ground is freezing hard, the days are dark, and there is absolutely no external evidence of life breaking through the soil. But that seed was not abandoned by accident. It was placed there with deliberate intention by hands that knew exactly what it carried inside. The winter is not a punishment to destroy it. The pressure is the precise environment required to break the hard shell. You have not been fighting poorly. You have not been failing because of a lack of faith or a lack of strength. You have simply been fighting without the proper instrument. You have been trying to cross the final threshold bare-handed, completely unaware that a specific tool was promised to you for this exact season of resistance. An instrument that you do not even know exists yet, designed specifically for the heavy door you are facing. Go to the comments right now and write, "I am here," as your decree of positioning. And regarding exactly this bone-deep exhaustion, the hesitation in your choices, and the heavy silence you carry into your home every evening, there is something Solomon left behind. He left a 2-minute key that fits perfectly into your ordinary day, which I will show you shortly. Keep this in the back of your mind as we move forward. And if you absolutely need to leave before the end of this video, this instrument is already waiting for you in the first pinned comment right below. But I strongly ask you to stay until the end, because without the context that is about to come, the key will not work with the same power in your hands. After all, what happens to a seed that no one planted? No one waters and yet still insists on growing. You arrived here because something you did today opened an exception in heaven. The word was given. The decree was issued. And now begins the part that most people miss. Because between the heavy weariness of the midnight watch and the crossing of the final threshold, there is an interval. an interval that the enemy knows much better than you do, and it is exactly in this interval, while the ticking clock echoes in the silence, that most of the chosen lose what was granted. Not because the decree was revoked, but because they arrived home on Monday morning and did not have the instrument to hold the line. Solomon was the wisest man who ever lived, and that is not a title from a history book. It is a biblical record signed by God himself. When he had the chance to ask for anything, absolutely anything, he did not ask for wealth, he did not ask for a long life, he did not ask for the heads of his enemies. He asked for wisdom. And God was so moved by the request that he gave him wisdom and gave him everything else along with it. He judged the dispute of the two mothers when no one else in the kingdom knew how to judge. He wrote 3,000 proverbs. He governed Israel at the historical peak that nation had ever seen before or since. The Queen of Sheba traveled for months on a camel just to test this wisdom, and when she returned, she said that not even half had been told. And Jesus himself, Jesus in person, cited Solomon by name, and he did not take this wisdom to the grave. He left it recorded with a surgical precision that has crossed 3,000 years without losing its edge. He left a record of how to stop watching the narrow door close in your face because your legs were too heavy to step through the threshold. He left a record of how to avoid bringing the heavy frustration of a closed door to your dinner table, so your family can finally breathe and they do not need you completely resolved. They just need you present, being the firm pillar they expect. And he left a record of how to walk with the straight spine of someone who recognizes the exact hour to turn the golden key, so you can stop hesitating at the final threshold, stop asking for advice from those who sink you, and stop believing those who sell cheap miracles. Before I name the instrument, move your thumb to the first pinned comment right below. Don't click yet. Just let your gaze reach it and recognize that it's there. Do that now. I gathered this into a guide called The Code of Solomon's Wisdom. It is a main written guide in PDF that you read in one sitting of 40 minutes, plus the audio of the Ritual of the Righteous Sleep in MP3 to listen to before bed, and the written guide of the 7 morning decrees in PDF to open in the first hour of the day. It is in the first pinned comment, right below. The union of the wisdom of Proverbs with the principles of peaceful restoration, which pull a person out of the state of survival and bring them into the state of clarity and decision. Solomon wrote it. I organized it for the ordinary day you are living right now in this week that begins tomorrow. Along with the main guide come 2 instruments. The first is the Ritual of the Righteous Sleep. 10 minutes before sleeping, guided by what David wrote in Psalm 4:8. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. This is not a modern relaxation technique. It is the act of handing over to the keeping of the one who does not sleep the heavy weariness you carried all day, so that your soul stops standing the midnight watch over a door that is already in the hands of someone who does not need you awake to defend what is yours. The second is the awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees. 5 minutes upon waking up, before your phone, before your coffee, before the first message the world tries to write into you. 7 decrees pronounced in your own voice, taken from the wisdom of Proverbs, that position the day before the day positions you. It is not positive affirmation. It is a biblical decree in your own voice. The posture of an heir before the ticking clock, the bills and the routine speak for you. To start the day like someone who was called to cross the threshold, not like someone crushed before 8 in the morning. And the value, the value. It is less than a Starbucks coffee in the afternoon. It is less than a simple Sunday lunch with your family. It is less than a tank of gas to drive to church on Sunday. I set it at this value on purpose. Not because it is worth little. It is worth what Solomon left recorded for 3,000 years. I set it at this value so that the only obstacle between you and the instrument would be your decision to reach out your hand. Not the price, not your schedule, not the commute. Only your hand reaching toward the link, and it has a guarantee of 7 days. If you open it, use it for a week, and it does not serve you, you send an email and you receive your money back in full. And here is the part that no one else does. You keep the 2 bonus instruments. The Ritual of the Righteous Sleep stays with you. The Awakening of Clarity, the 7 morning decrees stays with you, even after the refund. This is not a generous concession. It is the recognition that the risk of testing cannot be yours. The risk is ours. The only risk left for you is the risk of not testing. And the risk of not testing is the risk of leaving here with the decree open in heaven and losing it on Monday morning for lack of the instrument. Several people here on this channel in recent weeks have already received this instrument. Fathers, grandparents, people who carry their household on their backs. I've read messages from those who slept through the night for the first time in months, from a husband who sat down at the dinner table and his wife noticed the difference without needing to ask, from a grandmother who managed to pray with her grandchild without the weight of the day crossing the prayer. It's not magic. It's the right instrument in the right hand. And while they sleep tonight with their soul handed over, your calendar keeps running. The next night you will lay your head on the pillow with your soul still on alert is today, maybe 3 hours from now. The next morning you will wake up thinking about the ticking clock, the battles, what you haven't resolved yet. Starting the day at a disadvantage is tomorrow. Every night without the ritual of the righteous sleep is a night your body will pay for. Every morning without the awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees, is a morning the world rewrites first. Every day without the code of Solomon's wisdom is a day your house feels, and you don't even realize it feels it. The cost of delaying is not zero, but do not leave now. The ceiling has not finished yet. What I need to show you next is greater than any instrument Solomon left recorded. It is the Hebrew name of what is happening to you at this exact moment, the name of the exception that was opened in heaven because of what you did today. And when you hear this name, you will understand why everything up to this point was preparation for one single word: stay. Listen carefully, because what I'm about to describe is not a generic list of struggles. This is the exact spiritual mapping of someone who is standing right in front of a massive, unseen door. The adversary wants you to believe that this sequence of events is just a heavy season of bad luck or personal failure. But heaven uses a different metric. The weight you have been carrying is actually the precise pressure required for a transition of cycle. There are 5 specific signs that validate the calling of someone in the final period of waiting. Pay attention to each one. The first sign is the prayer that has completely changed its tone. You still kneel, you still ask, but it feels like your words do not even go past the ceiling of your room. It is a dry, exhausted prayer. You are no longer asking for great miracles or expansive territories. You are just asking for enough breath to survive the next 24 hours. What feels like a sudden spiritual abandonment is actually a profound transition. Heaven is not ignoring you. It is forcing you to shift from the desperate cry of a survivor to the silent posture of an heir at the threshold. The second sign is the nameless weight paralyzing your decisions in the ordinary day. You find yourself completely locked when a choice needs to be made. You have already diagnosed the exact pattern of hesitation that cost you so much in the past, yet you watch yourself repeating it in completely different contexts with different people. It feels like an unbreakable cycle of second-guessing. What seems like cowardice or a lack of vision is actually the intense spiritual gravity of knowing deep down that the next step you take will define the entirety of your next season. The third sign is the heavy distance that settles inside your own home. You walk through the front door and bring a dense silence with you. Your child does not call you with the same lightness anymore, and your spouse has simply learned to stop asking what is wrong. It is not rejection, and it is not a lack of love. It is the agonizing reality of being completely surrounded by an invisible weight, not knowing how to unload it without dumping it entirely on the people you are trying to protect. What feels like failing your family is the raw pressure of trying to shield them from a battle they cannot see. The fourth sign is the sudden breaches opening in your everyday life. It feels as though your resources, your time, and your physical energy are draining through invisible points that you cannot plug. You fix one thing, and another immediately breaks. You sleep, but your body wakes up feeling as though it marched through a war zone. What looks like a sequence of material losses and physical exhaustion is actually the adversary's desperate tactic to distract your focus. He is trying to drain your stamina so that when the heavy door finally cracks open, your legs will be too weak to cross the threshold. The fifth sign is the absolute, echoing silence as the only answer to your desperate request for confirmation. You have asked for a single sign, a clear direction, a simple yes or no, and heaven has responded with a silence so thick it hurts your ears. You interpret this silence as a locked door or a divine rejection. But in the spiritual realm, silence at the 11th hour is never an abandonment. It is the ultimate test of endurance. It is the Father trusting that He has already given you enough light to take the next step without needing to be carried. If you recognize yourself in at least 3 of these 5 signs, do not let this moment pass without a physical act of positioning. Go to the comments right now and write, "I carry what no one else carries." This is not an empty phrase or an engagement metric. It is a spiritual declaration that you are finally recognizing the true nature of your exhaustion. By writing this, you are pulling the heavy truth out of your mind and establishing it in the physical world, confirming that you are exactly where you are supposed to be. Every single one of these signs is nothing more than calculated pressure applied to raw coal. The heavy silence, the draining energy, the paralyzed decisions, they are all part of a very specific refinery. You have felt as though you were being systematically crushed, buried under the weight of expectations and delays. But a pressure chamber does not exist to destroy. It exists to forge. What you have interpreted as the crushing end of your strength is the exact environment required to produce the diamond. You are not being buried. You are being compressed into something unbreakable for the crossing. Before I give you the exact Hebrew name of what you are carrying right now, I need to remind you of something crucial. The instrument that Solomon left recorded, the one I mentioned at the very beginning, does not replace the name you are about to receive. It helps you sustain the weight of that name in the ordinary day after the name is received. First comes the revelation of the name, then comes the instrument to hold the line, stay. There is a single word in ancient Hebrew that defines exactly what you are carrying and the exact window of time you are standing in. When I say this word, you will never look at this agonizing period of waiting the same way again. Stay. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Place your hand on your chest. Feel the heavy rhythm of your own heart for just a second. I am going to speak the exact Hebrew name of the spiritual pressure you have been carrying over these last few months. The word is Mo'ed. Say it silently to yourself. Mo'edi. This is not just a random term drawn from ancient texts. It is the precise spiritual diagnosis of the midnight watch you are standing in right now. It is the exact reason why your exhaustion suddenly reached its absolute peak today. Many translate Mo'edi simply as a date on the calendar, a passing season, or a biblical holiday. But that is a shallow shell that completely misses the staggering spiritual gravity of what you are experiencing. In the deep prophetic sense, Mo'edi is the exact unpostponable intersection between heaven and earth. It is a crossing of coordinates where a narrow door that has been completely invisible to you for years suddenly materializes for just a few fleeting moments. It is the appointed time. This is exactly why the ticking clock has been echoing so loudly in the silence of your room, paralyzing your compass. This is why the pressure on your body feels like the 11th hour, making your legs heavy when you are just one step away from crossing the threshold. You are sensing the window closing. The psalmist understood the overwhelming weight of this exact crossing. In Psalm 102:13, the ancient record declares, "Thou shalt arise and have mercy upon Zion, for the time to favor her, yea, the set time is come." Notice the surgical precision of that scripture. It does not say a vague "someday will come," or that things will eventually get better. It says the set time, the Mohedikan, has finally arrived. The favor of heaven is locked to an exact appointment, and you have just collided with yours. Hear me clearly. You are not late. You have not wasted your life. You have not ruined your only chance because of your past hesitations at the final threshold. You have simply been walking through a brutal, draining desert until the exact moment you aligned with your Mo'edi. The heavy weariness you feel right now is not the agonizing end of your road. It is the intense spiritual friction of crossing over. Hear this decree over your life. This period of deep exhaustion and heavy silence has a name before it has an end. And because it has a name, it can no longer hold you captive in the dark. Remember the seed buried deep in the freezing winter ground. The crushing pressure it endured was never a punishment to destroy it. It was the precise mechanism required to crack the hard shell. Moed is the exact moment the winter ends. This word is the spiritual code that finally opens the sealed file of your true identity. You were compressed in that chamber so that when this narrow door finally cracked open today, you would have the strength to hold the line, but simply recognizing the name of the hour is not enough to survive the crossing. Now that you know the name of what you carry, I need to show you that someone carried this exact weight before you. Someone who stood facing a massive transition, knowing the window of opportunity was closing. And what happened to this person will change everything for your Monday morning. I promise to come back to this. It's now. You have been standing exactly where the greatest men and women of the biblical record stood right before their entire history was rewritten. The heavy weariness in your bones, the agonizing paralysis at the final threshold, the thick silence you carry into your living room. These are not the symptoms of someone who is failing. They are the exact, documented spiritual friction of someone who has finally collided with their Moed. You have been carrying this massive weight in the dark because heaven was conditioning your spiritual muscles for the narrow door that is opening right now. You are not the first to feel that your legs might give out just one step away from the crossing. Long before he was known as the wisest king on earth, Solomon was just a young man standing in front of a terrifyingly massive door. He was suddenly tasked with succeeding David, tasked with leading an entire nation, and tasked with building the eternal temple. The sheer weight of that calling was enough to crush anyone's mind. He stood at the edge of his own midnight watch, feeling the intense gravity of a kingdom's expectations pressing down on his chest. The silence of that transition period was deafening, and the temptation to hesitate, to delay his crown because of the fear of failure, was a heavy shadow over his early days. But Solomon did not cross his threshold, relying on blind courage alone. He operated with a highly specific instrument of discernment. He understood that the greatest wisdom is not merely having resources, but recognizing the exact, unpostponable hour to apply them. As he recorded in Ecclesiastes, there is a time for every purpose under heaven. He built the temple not just with cut stones and cedar, but with absolute calendar precision. When his narrow door of opportunity swung open, he did not let the paralyzing weight of the 11th hour make him hesitate. He used the instrument of divine timing to turn the golden key exactly when the clock struck his Moed. What looked to the outside world like a sudden overnight ascension to unimaginable glory was actually the public revelation of a deep, invisible preparation. The years spent observing in silence, the internal pressure of living under his father's massive shadow, and the quiet formulation of his wisdom were all a pressure chamber. When the appointed time finally arrived, he did not collapse under the weight of the crown. The silent preparation instantly became a visible calling. He held the line because he knew that divine opportunity does not wait for your exhaustion to pass. It demands that you step through even when your legs are trembling. Before I declare the 3 names over your life, I need you to do something that is not for you. Press the like button on this video right now. Every single like is a beacon for another person who is awake at 3 in the morning, crushed by the same heavy silence, thinking they are losing their mind. You are not clicking a button for an algorithm. You are throwing a rope to someone who is drowning in the midnight watch. Do this now as a physical act of intercession, and then prepare your spirit to receive what was recorded specifically for you. Listen to the first name heaven decrees over you today, the keeper of the appointed time. This is not a title of passive waiting. It is a profound spiritual rank. For years, you have felt like a hostage to the ticking clock, watching opportunities slip through your fingers and believing that you were perpetually late to your own life. That lie is broken right now. As the keeper of the appointed time, your posture changes entirely. You are no longer a victim of a delayed calendar. You are the guardian of the exact hour of heaven's favor. The delays you experienced were not rejections, but a deliberate synchronization, so you would arrive at the final threshold exactly today. You now have the spiritual authority to recognize the hour, to look at the ticking clock not with anxiety, but with the quiet, absolute certainty of an heir whose inheritance has finally matured. The second name decreed over your life is the bearer of the final push. This is the exact reason why the spiritual resistance against your mind and your body reached such a brutal, unbearable peak over the last few weeks. The adversary tried to drain your physical stamina because he knew this specific name was about to be activated at the threshold. As the bearer of the final push, you are granted the undeniable authority to not back down when the resistance reaches its absolute apex. You are the one who plants your feet at the 11th hour and pushes the heavy door open precisely when everyone else decides to give up and go to sleep. When the ghost of the almost tries to whisper that it is too late, you will carry the spiritual violence required to hold the line and force the threshold open. The third and final name sealed over your spirit is the crosser of the threshold. The days of walking your family right up to the edge of the blessing, only to watch the door close in your face, are officially over. This name carries the specific weight of generational transition and territorial possession. As the crosser of the threshold, you are destined not to just stand on the outside looking at the narrow door, but to confidently step through it. You are commissioned to cross over the line, carrying your spouse, your children, and your entire household into the new season with you. You will no longer bring the heavy frustration of a closed door to your dinner table, because you are now authorized to lead your bloodline out of the barren wilderness and directly into the appointed time. These three names are not just words, they are an exact frequency. Think of a high-powered radio transmission that has been broadcasting in your direction for years. You could not hear it because your receiver was completely out of tune, scrambled by the static of your exhaustion. These names just tuned your internal receiver to the exact frequency of your Mo'edi. But there is something the enemy desperately does not want you to know about these three names, because when you find out what it is, he permanently loses the main weapon he has been using against you all these years. Stay. The adversary has been listening to everything decreed over your life. He knows your sealed file is open and your receiver is tuned to your appointed time. Because you know your true names, he will launch a coordinated counterattack. He cannot revoke your Mo'edi, but he will try to make you miss the narrow door using three illusions. What you are about to receive is your strategic map. These are the three tactics he will use tomorrow morning, and the exact three weapons you will use to hold the line. His first tactic is the erosion of comparison, designed to make you hesitate at the final threshold. He will whisper that your clock is broken, that your time moves slower than everyone else's, and that you have been permanently left behind in God's calendar. He wants you to look around and see people opening their doors while you are still staring at a closed one. The goal is to make you believe that the ticking clock is a countdown to your failure, tricking you into missing your divine window of opportunity simply because you were too exhausted to recognize the hour. Your weapon against this lie is the decree of singularity. You must speak out loud what heaven has actually declared, completely ignoring what your physical eyes see. You will open your mouth and declare, "My trajectory is entirely unique. I do not compare my brutal winter with the sudden spring of another." When the adversary tries to rush you into a panicked decision, you will stand firm with the posture of one who knows the exact time to step forward. You are not delayed. Your heavy preparation simply required a much deeper pressure chamber for the specific crossing ahead. His second tactic is the erosion of perception. He will actively manipulate your senses, so you interpret heaven's silence as a final rejection. To prevent you from hearing the still small voice guiding you through the narrow door, he will fill your house with static noise and ignite small, exhausting fires in your daily routine. He wants you to walk into your home, carrying the heavy frustration of another day where the door did not open. He aims to break your spirit right at the dinner table, making you believe that the silence means you have been entirely abandoned. Your weapon against this static noise is the memory of the cleared altar. You must intentionally force your mind to go back to that specific, undeniable moment when God was absolutely real in your life. That exact memory is not just a comforting thought. It is binding legal proof in the court of heaven. The adversary cannot erase what has already been written in your history. When the midnight watch feels too dark and the silence feels too heavy, your historical altar shatters his illusions. The undeniable memory of what God already did instantly defeats your current distorted perception. His third and most violent tactic is the erosion of persistence. He will try to make you give up just 24 hours before the breakthrough. He takes the accumulated exhaustion of the last 7 years and concentrates all of that crushing weight directly onto your shoulders in this final mile. He wants you to feel the heavy weariness in your bones and accept the false, poisonous peace of simply letting go. He knows that if you drop your hands now, you will lose the golden key right at the 11th hour, missing the very threshold you bled to reach. Your weapon here is the spiritual violence of the 11th hour, the resistance of the last second. You will remain standing when absolutely everything in your environment demands that you fall. You do not need to run, you do not need to sprint, and you do not need to fight with words. You simply refuse to step away from the threshold. When the pressure peaks and your legs tremble, holding the line is the most aggressive attack you can launch. Refusing to surrender your position is how you force the heavy door to finally open in front of you. Before we move to the final ceiling, you must establish a physical marker of your presence at this exact threshold. Subscribe to this channel right now. Do not do this as a casual social gesture or a digital favor. Do this as the deliberate physical positioning of a spiritual receiver who is tuning in for the instructions of the days to come. By subscribing, you are planting a flag in the ground of your Mo-Edi Park, officially declaring to the adversary that you are no longer wandering blindly. You are anchored, alert, and permanently positioned to guard your appointed time. You now hold the strategic map. You know exactly what you are dealing with. You know the names you carry, and you know the exact weapons you can use to fight back when the alarm rings tomorrow morning. But knowing the strategy is not the final step of this crossing. There is a specific prayer that urgently needs to be prayed right now to lock all of this into place. It will not be prayed by me. It must be prayed by you, using your own voice, over your own life, and I will lead you through it. Close your eyes now. Place both hands over your chest. Breathe deeply before we continue. Father, right now, I stand before you holding the crushing weight of the midnight watch. I confess the deep, bone-deep exhaustion that simply does not pass when I close my eyes. I confess the agonizing paralysis at the final threshold, the terrifying fear of turning the golden key and making the wrong choice in the 11th hour. And I confess the dense, heavy silence I have carried into my own home, sitting at the dinner table with a mind miles away, unloading the frustration of closed doors onto the people I love the most. I'm tired of fighting the ticking clock barehanded. I am exhausted from the spiritual friction of trying to force a heavy door that I was never meant to cross alone. But today, I refuse to step away from the threshold. Even with heavy legs and a trembling spirit, I plant my feet exactly where the adversary told me to surrender. I receive the names decreed over my life in this appointed time. I take my position as the keeper of the appointed time. I lift my head as the bearer of the final push. And I step forward as the crosser of the threshold. I will not let the ghost of the almost steal my divine window of opportunity. I am holding the line, and I am listening for the exact instruction of my appointed time. Listen to the voice of the one who controls the ticking clock, whispering directly into your spirit right now. I saw you on those nights when you stared blankly at the bedroom ceiling at 3 in the morning, listening to the heavy silence of the house, and the suffocating panic arrived in your chest before the first thought even formed in your mind. I saw the absolute physical exhaustion that made your legs heavy when you were just one step away from the crossing, making you believe that I had abandoned you in the winter. I saw you in the decisions you made out of sheer desperation at the edge of the narrow door, rushing the lock because clarity did not arrive in time. And the very next morning, you woke up carrying the bitter weight of a mistake you had already diagnosed, but simply did not know how to avoid. I saw you staring at your paralyzed compass, terrified of taking the wrong step and ruining your only chance, letting the window of opportunity close while you second-guessed the light I had already given you. I saw you walking through the front door, unloading the massive weight the world placed on your shoulders, sitting physically present at the dinner table while your mind calculated silent escapes. And I saw your family learn to stop asking what was wrong. I saw the heavy distance settling in your living room, and the guilt tearing you apart because you were trying to shield them from a battle they could not see. I saw you, and I saw the deep, agonizing pain of that inside you. But hear me now. The crushing pressure you felt was never my rejection. It was the exact spiritual gravity of your appointed time approaching. You were not buried under that heavy silence. You were planted for the crossing. I am taking the shattered pieces of your midnight watch and forging them into the absolute authority of an heir who recognizes the hour. The winter is over. The 11th hour is not your defeat. It is the exact moment I authorize you to turn the golden key. Rise, crosser of the threshold, because the door is open and you will not walk through it empty-handed. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. Don't say amen yet. Stay here. Remember the seed buried deep in the freezing ground, completely surrounded by the dark, heavy soil. The adversary wanted you to look at the surface and believe that nothing survived the winter, that the crushing pressure had finally broken you. But the pressure chamber did exactly what it was designed to do. It cracked the hard shell. The earth that seemed entirely dead has produced. You survived the midnight watch, the deep roots have taken hold, and you are finally standing at the exact intersection of heaven and your ordinary day. You are ready for the final push. Now you may say amen. Don't open your eyes yet, keep your hands on your chest. The seal is fresh, and it's exactly now that the adversary will try his first attack. What was sealed here will be tested on the first Monday. When the alarm rings, when routine returns, when the cycle tries to reread today as a passing Sunday emotion. Anyone commissioned without an instrument walks the open field without what Solomon recorded. The exception was opened. Now it must survive the ordinary day. The code of Solomon's wisdom is in the first pinned comment, right below. Not as a substitute for what you received, but as a companion to defend what was sealed, because a decree without an instrument rots on the first Monday morning, and the adversary counts on Monday. Less than a Starbucks coffee in the afternoon, less than a Saturday afternoon snack, with a guarantee of 7 days and the 2 bonus instruments, the ritual of the righteous sleep and the awakening of clarity, which stay with you. The risk is ours, the hand is yours. Click right now while the decree lives in your chest, not tomorrow, not after your shower, because whoever leaves it for later, leaves it for never. And the adversary counts on later. That voice whispering right now, you'll see later, decide tomorrow, now is not the time. That voice is not yours. That voice is the voice of the one who lost today in the court of heaven and is trying to recover ground on your Monday morning. He counts on later now too. Click before the adversary speaks louder than the decree that has just been sealed over your head. And now, the last word. Someone you know is carrying the same heavy weariness of the midnight watch. Someone laying their head down tonight, terrified of the ticking clock. They will not stop scrolling alone. They need you to send this to them. This is not sharing a video. This is interceding. Now close your eyes. Take 3 breaths. Remain in silence until the video ends. What was done here needs to land. Do not scroll. Do not leave. Stay.